Today is Monday, April 4th, and this is Football's Remarkable. Hello and welcome to the third episode of this season's podcast, Football's Remarkable. Today, we will be talking about Edson Arantes do Nascimento, known as Pele. He is a Brazilian former professional footballer who played as a forward. Regarded as one of the greatest players of all time and labeled the greatest by FIFA, he was among the most successful and popular sports figures of the 20th century. In 1999, he was named Athlete of the Century by the International Olympic Committee and was included in the Time list of 100 most important people of the 20th century. His 1,279 goals in 1,363 games, which included friendlies, are recognized as a Guinness World Record. But before that, some important updates from the world of football in our first segment, Football Weekend Update. This week again witnessed some spectacular performances and remarkable moments from international football. On 27th March, Christian Eriksen scored moments after entering as a substitute for Denmark against the Netherlands in a friendly match. The Dutch side won the match by 2-4. This was the first international match of Eriksen since his cardiac arrest. Harry Kane levelled with Bobby Charlton in second place on the all-time England men's scoring chart by scoring against Switzerland in a friendly. Coming to the World Cup qualifiers, Canada qualified for the FIFA World Cup for the first time in 36 years. Senegal also qualified for the FIFA World Cup after winning a thrilling penalty shootout against Egypt. Tunisia also booked a berth in Qatar after a goalless draw against Mali, and Morocco won 4-0 against the Democratic Republic of Congo, qualifying for their sixth World Cup. Cameroon also qualified after their win against Algeria. Ghana also qualified after snatching the win from Nigeria. In European qualifiers, Cristiano Ronaldo will take part in his fifth World Cup after Portugal defeated North Macedonia and Poland denied Sweden their 13th appearance at the World Cup in Qatar. On Friday, April 1, 2022, the draw result for the group stage were announced. Group A has Qatar, Netherlands, Senegal and Ecuador. In Group B, we have England, the United States, Iran and UEFA playoff winners. Argentina, Mexico, Poland and Saudi Arabia are in Group C. Group D has France, Denmark, Tunisia and the Intercontinental playoff winner. Group E has Spain, Germany, Japan and the Intercontinental playoff winner. In Group F, we have Belgium, Croatia, Morocco and Canada. Group G has Brazil, Switzerland, Serbia and Cameroon. In Group H, we have Portugal, Uruguay, South Korea and Ghana. Those were the major updates from this week. Now let's move on to our next segment, Football's Memorable. Pele, real name Edson Arantes do Nascimento, is regarded as the greatest player of all time. He was a 3-time FIFA World Cup winner and scored 12 goals in 14 games at the World Cup tournaments. Born in a poor district of Três Corações in Brazil on 23rd of October in 1940, he remains the most famous footballer in the history of the game. Pele, at just the age of 15, left his home in Boro for a trial at the Santos. After just one training session at the Santos, the club signed him. He progressed so quickly that he caught the eye of the Brazil coach for the 1958 FIFA World Cup and got the call from the Brazilian national team to represent Brazil at the World Cup. An injury forced him out for the first two games. But Pele made his mark by helping Brazil defeat the mighty Soviet Union and sending Brazil to the next stage of the tournament. The boy with nothing changed everything. His goal against Wales helped Brazil secure a quarter-final win. In the semi-final against France, he scored a magnificent second-half hat-trick. Pele's goals in a comprehensive 5-2 win guided Brazil to the final, where they faced the host Sweden. Pele became the youngest player to appear in the World Cup final. After taking a 2-1 lead against the host Sweden, Pele flicked the ball over the defender and scored a marvelous goal. This was without doubt a defining moment in the World Cup history. In the final minutes of the match, Pele scored his second goal with a looping header. The World Cup final match against Sweden ended in a 5-2 win for Brazil, which saw their first World Cup triumph. The 17-year-old Pele was the star of the tournament, scoring 6 goals, including 3 in the semi-finals and 2 in the final. After winning the World Cup, Pele became very famous, and Santos also played many matches across different locations, especially across Europe. Pele became a symbol and role model for many in the era of civil rights and racial integration. 4 years after Brazil won their first World Cup, they travelled to Chile to defend their title. Pele played well in the opening match against Mexico, but in the second match he got injured. He tore a muscle in his thigh, which restricted him to support his country from the stands. Inspired by other remarkable players like Garrincha, Brazil reached the final against Czechoslovakia. They did not let Pele down, and despite going a goal behind, they went on to beat Czechoslovakia 3-1. Pele was rewarded for his early contributions in the tournament with his second successive FIFA World Cup winners' medal. In club football, Santos had been crowned the champions of South America. 3 months after the World Cup, Pele was in the Santos squad, which travelled to Lisbon Stadium to face European champions Benfica for the Intercontinental Cup. Pele scored a magnificent hat-trick in a 5-2 win for Santos, humbling the European champions. Santos became a powerhouse in club football as they defeated AC Milan in the 1963 Intercontinental Cup the following year. Pele established himself as the best footballer. In the 1966 World Cup, Pele scored a goal from a free kick in Brazil's opening match against Bulgaria, but got injured afterwards. Brazil lost their next game against Hungary. The following match against Portugal was quite difficult for Brazil. It was very physical, and Pele was subjected to a series of challenges and was eventually forced to leave the pitch. With Pele injured, Portugal won the match by a score of 3-1 very easily, and Brazil were knocked out of the tournament. Following his treatment after the 1966 World Cup, Pele even considered quitting and leaving football behind. But he changed his mind and continued playing. In club football, Pele remained a consistent scorer. By November 1969, Pele had scored an incredible 999 goals. When Santos played against Vasco da Gama at the Maracana Stadium in Rio, Pele made history by scoring his 1000th goal after brilliantly converting a penalty 13 minutes before full time. The 1970 FIFA World Cup in Mexico was the first World Cup tournament broadcasted live in color and to be hosted outside Europe and South America. The Brazilian squad of 1970 under the manager Mario Zagallo had immense attacking potential and had players like Pele, Jairzinho, Revellino and Carlos Alberto. The tournament began in May 1970 and Brazil was in Group 3 along with 3 European sides: the defending champions England, European champions Czechoslovakia and Romania. In the opening match against Czechoslovakia, Brazil conceded a goal but was able to equalize from Roberto Revellino's free kick and eventually won the match with goals from Pele and Jairzinho by a score of 1-4. The next match against defending champions England offered stiff competition due to the players like Bobby Moore and Bobby Charlton and their style of play. Jairzinho scored the only goal of the match to secure the win. In the last group match against Romania, Brazil won by a score of 3-2. The quarterfinals were against Peru, which Brazil won 4-2 and advanced to the semi-finals, where they faced Uruguay. The Brazilians won the semi-final by a score of 3-1. In the finals, Brazil faced Italy. Pele scored his nation's 100th goal, which was also the opener of the match, with an astounding header. In the final few minutes of the game, Brazil produced one of the most memorable and wonderful moments in the form of a great team goal. Pele was involved in 2 of the 9 passes that preceded Carlos Alberto's goal. Brazil had delighted the fans with their 4-1 victory and won the right to keep the Jules Rimet trophy after winning it for the 3rd time. The 1970 World Cup in Mexico enjoyed Pele's finest performance. Pele scored 4 goals and provided many assists. Despite his goals, the strongest memories of Pele in 1970 were a shot from the halfway line against Czechoslovakia that just missed the post and his dummy around the Uruguayan goalkeeper. Pele retired from international football 1 year after the 1970 FIFA World Cup. He continued to play for Santos until September 1974 and later signed for New York Cosmos and went to the United States. Pele continued to score goals and the New York Cosmos won the NASL title in 1977. Pele immensely helped in the development of soccer in the United States. After completely retiring from football, he has become an ambassador for the game. On the 11th of December 2000, Pele was named the Player of the Century by FIFA's grand jury for his contribution to the game, and he remains a living legend. So that was our show. Thank you very much for listening. See you next week. Goodbye.